All right, I'm just going to give a few more moments for folks to filter in. Everything I'm going to say, I will also put in the chat. So if you feel like you're missing anything and you're just catching a few words at the end of my sentence, again, I will put everything I'm saying into the chat for you. But we really do want to utilize our time the best we can. So I'm going to get started here. This part is really important. If you have a question for any of our panelists at any time, please utilize the Q&A button. That's either at the top or the bottom of your screen. Our panelists cannot see you. Our panelists cannot hear you. So that Q&A is the only way to get an immediate response. But another thing that's really important is pay attention to that chat. They are going to be putting their contact information in there. And it is very important that if you would like to contact these folks, this is what they do, incredibly important to do so. So if you have a question, please use that Q&A. If it's for all the institutions, great. But if it's for a specific institution, please make sure to make a note of that. You can sign up for more sessions, the same place that you signed up for this one, and a recording of this will be available. Again, I will put all that information in the chat for you. All right, we have Carnegie Mellon University, Carleton College, University of Delaware, Trinity College, Itzer College, and Regis University. And with that, we are going to kick it off with Carnegie Mellon University.
All right, thank you very much, Christy, and good evening, everybody. My name is Justin Money. I'm an Associate Director in the Office of Admission at Carnegie Mellon. To give you an introduction to Carnegie Mellon, we are a medium-sized research university, home to about 6,400 undergraduate students and a freshman class each year of around 1,600. We're located in the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which for anybody who's ever been to the state of Pennsylvania before, all the way on the western side of that state. We are an urban campus located just a couple of miles from the downtown neighborhood of the city of Pittsburgh. And the university houses 7 distinct colleges. When applying to Carnegie Mellon, students apply directly to one of our undergraduate colleges or programs and enroll directly into that college. I'll give you just a brief introduction to what those colleges are, beginning with our School of Computer Science. The School of Computer Science houses our programs in computer science, artificial intelligence, human-computer interaction, and computational biology. Next college would be our College of Engineering, which is home to programs in electrical and computer engineering, mechanical engineering, civil and environmental engineering, materials sciences, and chemical engineering. Our Mellon College of Science houses our mathematical sciences, biological sciences, chemistry, and physics programs. Our Tepper School of Business is home to a single program in business administration. The Dietrich College of Humanities and Social Sciences is by far our most academically diverse college, with over 60 different majors and minors. Don't worry, I won't name them all, but they span traditional humanities-based fields like creative writing and philosophy to quantitative social sciences like behavioral economics and statistics and machine learning. Our Hines College for Information Systems and Public Policy co-hosts an information systems program alongside the Dietrich College. And then finally, our College of Fine Arts is home to 5 distinct schools in the visual and the performing arts. The studio-based visual arts programs of art, architecture, and design, and the conservatory-based performing arts programs of drama and music. The Carnegie Mellon experience and community, though, I think it is one that spans across these colleges. So regardless of your college affiliation, while at Carnegie Mellon, there are a few themes that will help to define your student experience. The first is the focus that we have as an institution on an applied education. Carnegie Mellon students are not only being asked to master the theory of their field, to attend lectures, to read textbooks, but to also roll up their sleeves and to do work that matters, to do the kind of work that they would be asked to take on as a young professional in their field, whether that means getting into the lab as a chemist or onto the stage as a musician. The second theme is the cross-disciplinary and interdisciplinary nature of an education at Carnegie Mellon. As an institution that spans those technical to creative fields that I mentioned, we're a place where you will learn alongside and from community members whose talents are phenomenally different than your own. This gives you a chance to attend innovative coursework like our Ideate program, Integrative Design, Art, and Technology, that focuses on fields like animation, sound design, learning media, entrepreneurship, that draws students from across the campus community into hands-on collaborative educational spaces. We have labs, studios, maker spaces in the library on our campus, which is the glass and aluminum building that you see over my shoulder in the Zoom background there, that are exclusively dedicated to this ID8 curriculum. It's open enrollment and available to all of our students. And then the third and final theme that I would mention is that within this community, you're going to find students, faculty, and staff coming from a wide array of lived experiences and backgrounds. Diversity is a key component and key value of the institution. We really feel that bringing together a community of learners with diverse lived experiences leads to higher quality educational outcomes, to more interesting discourse and experiences in the campus community. So you will find that our student body includes students from 48 different states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, over 50 different countries, with about 17% of our students being international students, about 15% coming from Black or African American, Latinx, or Native American backgrounds. About 49% of our students identify as male, 50% as female, about 1% is gender non-binary. So those overall three themes that I mentioned of the diversity of the community, the interdisciplinarity, and the applied nature of the education cut across those 7 different colleges that I mentioned. With our last moments, I just want to say a few words about applying to the university. We are a selective institution. We use a holistic review process where we're looking to bring in students that are both going to succeed in our classroom environment, academically or artistically in the College of Fine Arts, where audition or portfolio components are a key aspect of the application, but who will also contribute to the Carnegie Mellon community and make it a community that is more interesting, more supportive, more dynamic, and inclusive for their classmates, their lab mates, and their roommates. Our application platform is the Common Application. And our financial aid applications are through the FAFSA and the CSS profile. And we do commit to meeting the full demonstrated financial need of our undergraduate students. And if I am counting correctly, pretty much coming up on my 6 minutes. So I will share my contact in the chat and welcome you to send any questions that you may have about Carnegie Mellon to me in the Q&A section. And I'd be more than happy to respond. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you so much, Justin. Next up, we have Carleton College.
I'm gonna try to share my screen with all of you here. Whoops. All right. So hello, everybody. Again, my name is Remy. I'm going to present on Carleton. We are a small private liberal arts college located in Northfield, Minnesota. It's about 40 miles south of the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Academically, some things you should know: Carleton is a super rigorous place. I chose Carleton many years ago because I wanted an academic butt kicking, and I certainly got it in droves at Carleton. Some things that stand out beyond the rigor of the academics: the trimester system is pretty different, not super common. Rather than using quarters or semesters, our students take 3 classes at a time for 3 10-week terms. This means the academic pace at Carleton is pretty fast, right? Life is constantly moving. And when students talk about the rigor of Carleton, the pace at which we move through coursework is often one of the things they are referencing. This trimester schedule allows for a fair amount of flexibility. Courses are constantly turning over. We can offer courses 3 times a year instead of twice a year, which is super nice. And it builds in a lot of time in your 4-year career for things like study abroad, right? I don't think it's coincidence that about 70% of our students will study abroad. You have 12 terms plus your summers to work with while you are at Carleton. So we see students taking quite a bit of advantage of that. In terms of the liberal arts approach, I want to mention that we don't have a core curriculum at Carleton. We do have distribution requirements. What that means is we're going to force you to take some different things, right? You can't come and study just 1, 2, or even 3 different academic areas. You're going to have to dabble in a lot of different curricular spaces. That being said, I think our students are eager for this sort of thing. Distribution requirements will sort of push you to be a dabbler. Only about 1/3 of your classes have to be committed to your major, right? So it gives you the opportunity to study many different things, even though you'll have one area of expertise when you graduate. The residential aspect of Carleton is a huge part of the overall experience. Housing is guaranteed all 4 years, but beyond that, the vast majority of students, over 95%, live on campus all 4 years. That is by design. We think there is immense value in students living near their peers, living near the spaces where professors are, living near academic, mental health resources, religious spaces, all of it, right? So you should anticipate spending your time on campus for those 4 years. You're also going to be surrounded by a wealth of diversity, right? Our students represent all 50 states. There's over 100 different languages spoken on campus. There's at least one member of every major religion represented on campus. Carleton blew my mind in terms of the number of different people I was encountering as a student. About a third of our students identify as BIPOC, and about 12% of our students identify as international students coming from all over the world. I will say one thing I really valued about my time at Carleton was the balance that students found, right? So I mentioned before the academic rigor, and I never want to downplay that because the expectations are there, right? That your professors are going to demand a lot of you. Our students demand a lot of themselves, but I've never met a Carleton student who is just a student. Everyone does something outside of class. And very often it's more like 5, 6, or 7 somethings, right? And that was one thing that really drew me to Carleton, the fact that I could have this really strong academic experience, but also could have a life. I could have 8 hours of sleep every night, right? I remember visiting campuses and feeling a sense of intensity, right? And there's that intensity at Carleton, but there's also a sense that students understand when it's 70 degrees outside, close the textbook and go hang out with friends. Go grab coffee with a professor, right? The small size means we really value those personal relationships with people, right? And I think that comes out in the sort of campus life opportunities and experiences that students are having. Okay. There's also money set aside every year for students to start new clubs and activities. So if somehow on that list of 250 different student orgs, you can't find something you're jazzed about, it's pretty easy to get financing for that sort of thing. It doesn't have to come out of your own pocket. I always like to highlight some of the campus resources that we have, because again, this goes hand in hand with the rigor that we expect at Carleton. Okay. Yes, we expect to push you while you're here, but we never expect that students do this work alone or that they struggle alone. And again, that goes beyond academics, right? I come from a first generation low income background, right? So it was not just academics that were challenging me at Carleton, right? Imposter phenomenon is real. And for some of you, that might hit really hard when you get to college. It's important you know there are support resources and systems in place to assist you, right? Not just with your grades, but with everything else. That transition to a new state, right? Dealing with people you've never met before, coming from an environment that is very different than your own, right? Finally, I just want to mention a couple things about the admissions process. We use the Common App, we use the QuestBridge app, we use the Coalition app. They're all different, so you should pick the one that works best for you. It is always free to apply to Carleton. There is never a fee regardless of which application you use. We do use a holistic review process. I'm imagining everybody will say that today. What that means, right? Yes, we're looking at your grades, we're looking at your transcript, we're looking at test scores if you choose to submit those, but we're looking at everything else, right? And hopefully you have a little bit of insight into that process after the case studies portion of tonight. We are going to be test optional for the next couple of years, TBD beyond that, but at least when you're applying, you have the option of whether or not to submit SAT and or ACT scores, okay? And similar to Carnegie Mellon, we meet full financial need for all admitted students for all 4 years, okay? Carleton is expensive. Most students don't pay that scary sticker price, right? The vast majority of financial aid that we give to students comes in the form of grants and scholarships, right? So my phone tells me I'm at about 6 minutes, so I'm gonna stop and turn it over to the next presenter.
All right, thank you so much. Next up, we have University of Delaware.
Good evening. Let me share my screen here, and I appreciate you giving me a few moments to give you an overview of the University of Delaware. I'm regionally based out here in California, and so a lot of the conversations I first have with students on where is the University of Delaware, and I pull up this map and I show them 4 major East Coast cities that they probably know a little bit more than Newark, Delaware. But when I talk a little bit about how convenient it is to fly nonstop from the major California airports to Philadelphia, where we're just a short 45-minute drive away, they kind of see, wow, University of Delaware has a lot of social, but also academic urban options too, really close to Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and a little further away, but just under 2 hours by train is New York City. And when I say train, yes, we have a train station on our campus. So not only can you take the SEPTA commuter train to Philadelphia in about an hour, but the Amtrak runs all the way from DC to New York City. And we also have the Atlantic Ocean really close by as well. But we're not an urban campus at the University of Delaware. We have 35,000 residents in Newark, Delaware, in addition to the 18,000 undergraduates that we have at the University of Delaware. So let me tell you a little bit more about perspective, because we are probably going to be one of the larger universities you'll hear from tonight. The University of Delaware is the public flagship state university in the state of Delaware. But we're not just attracting just Delawareans. Actually, 70% of those 18,000 undergraduates are coming from outside the state, predominantly from Chicago-based East, but we have a huge presence from the West Coast as well. When you're considering possibly public universities, I think it's also important to notate what is the graduate school population of a public university you're looking at. So at the University of Delaware, we just have under 6,000 graduate students. So if you look at the 24,000 plus total students, almost 3/4 of it are undergraduates. So the connections with professors, research opportunities for a tier 1 research school, and the vast majority of internships and opportunities are going to be dedicated to the undergraduates. But looking at this, you're going to see that this resembles just the East Coast classics that you probably are looking at when you're researching your schools. A lot of the red brick, white column buildings, a lot of the hub and center of academic and social life is around the green, which is that large quad that you see going from the top to bottom of our campus. So certainly a suburban campus. All of our first year students will live on campus, but the average student will live on campus for 2 years. But one thing I think really distinguishes us from other potential East Coast classics is the fact we have a fantastic Main Street that intersects our quad, the green that I mentioned. And from the first year village, it's a 15-minute walk, a short bike ride. We have a longboarders club. A lot of students do skateboard also on campus too, but you have at your disposal 80 different unique boutiques, restaurants, and shops that aren't a part of main campus. We have a lot of great amenities on campus too, but these are distinct. This is a distinct college town. That's what most people describe Newark, Delaware, is the fact that they're going to get that college town experience with Division I athletics that are very vibrant on our campus, a vibrant Greek life as well. But just know the fact that you can have a car at the University of Delaware, but I definitely don't think you need it. And in addition to these shops and restaurants, we do have a lot of different housing options, even within a 1/4 mile radius of campus, and a lot on Main Street. Academically, like another major flagship universities, we have a lot of different majors and minors to offer. You could be directly admitted to any one of our 8 majors in our 8 colleges. 20% of our students for the past 8 years have come to the university studies track. And that means they have multiple interests and they want to kind of take their time. It could be a year, it could be 2, to go through our liberal arts curriculum, go through the unique advising with the university studies, and then transition into their particular major. Could be a semester, but most students do take a year. Usually by the end of their second year, they are going to be transitioning into one of our 8 colleges. Some of our majors and colleges that most students, especially on the West Coast, know us for is our College of Health Sciences. Our direct entry nursing program is one of our most competitive majors. We're the #1 physical therapy school in the nation, so our exercise science and sports health program is very, very competitive and popular. Also engineering, we're in top 10 for chemical engineering and have a great relationship with Dow and DuPont, who are actually based in Newark, Delaware as well. But we're not just a STEM or health science school. We actually have a very vibrant liberal arts curriculum. We're one of 4 programs in the United States that has an undergraduate and graduate program in art conservation, and also have wonderful psychology, political science, education programs, and our College of Business as well. And if you're into pre-veterinary sciences, we have the College of Agricultural and Natural Resources. Our honors college takes 600 students out of our pool of around 4,400 first-year students who maybe want more of an enriched academic experience. I can field more questions about that in the chat later on, but we do proportionally take students from all 8 colleges and university studies as well. So think about it as a smaller community amongst our larger first-year class. We were the first school in the United States to do a formal travel abroad program. So if the idea of actually starting your first semester abroad and having global citizenship be a part of your 4-year experience, the World Scholars is another unique program we have. And as I wrap up here, Any high school student around the world can participate in the Diamond Challenge. It's the #1 ranked high school youth entrepreneurship competition in the United States, but it does have a global reach. You actually don't even have to apply to the University of Delaware to participate. Take a screenshot here. This is the best way you can reach me. I'm based in California, and I'll field any questions in the chat, but thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you so much, Chaka. Next up, we have Trinity College.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all. Thanks again for having me here this evening. So my name is Emily Petersell. I'm an Associate Director of Admissions at Trinity College. Trinity is a small liberal arts college located in the capital city of Hartford, Connecticut. We are very proud of our identity as an urban liberal arts college, so I will talk about that momentarily. We are a small college of about 2,100 undergraduate students, but despite our small size, we are quite a national and international institution. So our students come from 47 different states across the US, as well as, I know the slide says 76 countries, but actually with the students we just admitted in the class of 2025, we are on track to go above 80 different countries represented on our campus. So we're quite excited about that. Another thing to be excited about, we are approaching our 200th birthday. Trinity has been in Hartford, Connecticut since 1823, and in 2023 we will turn 200. We are already party planning, so if you are thinking about coming to college right now, you might be on campus for our 200th birthday, which would be quite exciting. I want to take a quick look at the academic experience. So at Trinity, we do have 41 different majors and 28 minors to choose from. If you look at that list of majors, you're going to see a mix of some of the traditional liberal arts subjects, things you would expect like English and history and modern languages, economics, but you'll also see some more innovative programs that you won't necessarily see at every small liberal arts college. Some examples are we are one of only a handful of small liberal arts colleges that does have a fully ABET accredited engineering program. We are also the first college to have a major in human rights. So there are some more innovative, interesting programs mixed in with those traditional liberal arts subjects. Students coming into Trinity don't have to declare their major until partway through their sophomore year. And actually about 15% of our students do choose to pursue a double major. So it's not uncommon for students to have multiple interests. On top of that 15%, another 25% of our students will pursue an interdisciplinary major, such as neuroscience, international studies, or public policy and law. Like you heard from Carleton College, we also do not have a core curriculum, but we do have distribution requirements. Every student is required to take just one class in each of these 6 areas. So arts, humanities, social science, natural science, numeric and symbolic reasoning, and then a global requirement as well. And then finally, the Trinity academic experience does culminate in some sort of guided research project, either a senior capstone project, a senior thesis, or doing a senior research seminar course in your major. So all of those pieces are the pieces that are quite common for liberal arts colleges, and sometimes people will ask me, what makes Trinity different? Why is Trinity different or unique compared to other small liberal arts colleges? And for me, the answer is always location, location, location. Being in an urban environment and in a capital city really makes us different from a lot of our peer institutions, and it comes with a lot of opportunity for our students to take what they're learning in the classroom and really start to engage with it in the world outside of the borders of our campus. So to highlight some examples, we have over 200 Trinity-specific internship opportunities in and around the city of Hartford. These are companies and organizations that are actually holding spots for Trinity students to come and work with them year over year. This includes hospitals around Hartford that we have partnerships. This includes the state capitol building. You can be a legislative intern there. About 80% of our students do some type of internship prior to graduating. Many of them do 2 or more, and we do allow students to do internships for credit towards their degree during the semester, not just over summers and breaks. Our Center for Hartford Engagement and Research is the office at Trinity that really organizes all of the different ways outside of internships that students can engage in the city. They can engage through research projects in our Liberal Arts Action Lab, research fellowships, and one common way that students are getting engaged is through community learning courses, which are classes taught by Trinity faculty that actually require students to get off campus and engage with the city, organizations, populations, and the community in some way. And about 1/3 of our students will take at least one community learning course before they graduate. Not necessarily related to Hartford, but it is related to getting away. About 60% of Trinity students do also study away at least once before they graduate. We have many programs to choose from, both domestic programs and international in all continents other than Antarctica. So if that's something you're thinking about, Trinity can definitely help you with that study away process. We do have a very vibrant residential campus community as well. In a typical year, more than 90% of Trinity students do live on campus in our housing, so we're very much a living, learning community. We have over 140 different student clubs, organizations, and cultural and community houses on campus. Personally speaking, most of the students that I know are engaged in at least 2 clubs and organizations, and many of them hold leadership positions in those clubs, actually starting pretty early on in their sophomore or junior year. In terms of athletics, we are Division III for all of our sports. We compete in the NESCAC group, the New England Small College Athletic Conference. Between our men's and our women's teams, we do have 30 different varsity athletic teams. So we're definitely a very active campus for sports as well. Last thing I want to do is highlight some things about our admissions and financial aid process. We are on the Common Application. We practice a holistic review. We have been test optional since 2015, so that's not a new policy for us. And actually, most of the students who get admitted to Trinity every year are students who did not submit testing, so it's truly optional. The application fee will automatically be waived for anyone who's first generation in their family to go to college. Lastly, like some of the other folks on the call, we are committed to meeting full calculated need for all students through our need-based aid program. Merit scholarships are available, and there's nothing extra you need to do to be considered. We automatically select our merit scholarship winners during the admissions process, and we would let you know at the time of your admission if you're receiving a merit award. That's all the time I have, I think, so I'm going to wrap it up there and move on to the next presenter. But thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take questions.
All right, thank you so much. Next up, we have Pitzer College.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Morris, and I'm an admission counselor here at Pitzer College. Very glad to be talking to you about an institution that I love very much today. So I will get started by saying that Pitzer is a small liberal arts college, and by small, I mean about 1,100 students located in Southern California. We're about 40 minutes outside of LA, of course, depending on traffic. In the city of Claremont, and Claremont actually is its own bustling area. I also like to mention that we are part of the 5 Claremont colleges, or the Claremont College Consortium. You might have heard of some of the other schools as well. Pomona, Scripps, Harvey, Mudd, and Claremont McKenna are the other schools in the consortium. I really think that the great thing about Pitzer and our location and the consortium that I really like to highlight right off the bat is that it's a little bit of the best of both worlds when it comes to your opportunities. So in terms of location, you are located in a college town that has college town stuff within walking distance, lots of great food, fun places to go, and things like that. But you're also located just outside of, a major metropolitan area. There is a train station within walking distance of campus, so you are able to hop a train, get to Union Station, go to downtown LA. I often tell people, as an example, I've been working at Pitzer for 3 years and I've lived in LA the entire time that I've worked there, so they're really not too far apart from each other. There's also a best of both worlds situation going on with the Claremont colleges as well. We often like to call it a buy 4, get 1 free situation. And basically what this means is that while you would be a student at Pitzer, right, you would live on Pitzer's campus, you would be a part of Pitzer's community, you also have access to 4 other schools that are all located in about a square mile of land within each other. So they're very nearby, walking distance, don't even need a bike to go to class at another campus. And you can take classes on the other campuses. So when you go to sign up for classes, you will click, psychology. All of the psychology classes for all 5 colleges would show up. You can even major and minor on the other campuses, which I think is a pretty cool thing. So Pitzer has just over 40 majors that we offer, but I believe there are over 200 majors that are offered across the colleges. The only caveat is that it has to be a major we don't offer, right? So if you want to be a psychology major, you would be a psych major at Pitzer. But let's say you decide you want to be a geology major. We don't have a geology program, but Pomona does. And so you would go do your classes for your major through Pomona. And it wouldn't feel too weird because you will have been taking classes across the 5 colleges throughout the time that you were, first year and a sophomore. So it really happens quite naturally, the sort of mixing between Pitzer and the other campuses. It's not just classes either, it's also clubs. We have, I think, just over 250 clubs across the 5 Claremont colleges. Most of them are shared 5C organizations. We have 17 eateries across the 5 campuses. You can swipe your Pitzer dining hall card at any of them. So it really is a little bit like if you went to an extremely small, tight-knit liberal arts college, but you also kind of went to a mid-sized university with different schools that have their own campuses and identities. The question that I get the most from students is, how do you know which of the Claremont colleges to apply to? And so I'd just like to point out here that we do have our own separate admission processes and our own separate admission offices. So if you like what you hear today about Pitzer, or you feel curious about some of the other schools, I highly recommend checking out their websites as well. But just FYI, it is pretty separate until you enroll and get to campus, and then it's all very much together. I like to make a mention of our 5 core values. So a lot of people ask, like, what distinguishes Pitzer from other liberal arts colleges, from the other schools in the consortium? And I really focus on our 5 core values when trying to explain that. Our core values of interdisciplinary learning, student engagement, environmental sustainability, social responsibility, and intercultural understanding really define the Pitzer community and what the Pitzer experience is like. And I, in a longer presentation, I would go through and I would give you examples of each of those core values and what they look like, but I'll just throw out a couple fun ones. So as you can kind of see in my Zoom background, we have a community garden on campus. Over 75% of our landscaping is native plants that are drought tolerant, so it saves thousands of gallons of water every year. We compost over 14 tons of food every year. So even just by being a Pitzer student and living on campus, you're living a more sustainable lifestyle. So that sort of speaks to our, environmental sustainability. In terms of social responsibility, I really like to talk about how students are very focused on advocacy, community organizing, social justice. Those are the kinds of things that our students tend to be very passionate about and very involved with. I do like to share, especially on short presentations, just a couple of fun rankings that I think really help to, like, where we fall in the ranks, basically, that helps to explain a little bit about who Pitzer is. So we are #1 for most politically active students in the US, #4 for best campus food. I also think we have some of the best food at the Claremont colleges, but that's personal opinion. #13 for most LGBTQ friendly colleges in the country, #18 for most active student government, #19 for ethnically diverse liberal arts colleges. And here's just a fun one, which is we are #5 for students who might identify as tree-hugging vegetarians, which I think definitely matches with our core values. So if you are a person who is interested in maybe the environment or political engagement, or just generally having a value-based education, I think Pitzer can be a great starting place when it comes to your college search. I do want to address, as the others on the call have, a little bit about admission and financial aid. So we are a Common App only school, just FYI, only on the Common App. And we've actually been test optional since 2003, and we will be test optional for the rest of the foreseeable future. So feel free to skip those tests, and we won't consider it very deeply in our process, even when they are submitted, because we are a holistic review institution, like many of the other institutions that have spoken today. So we will take the time to go through each part of your application, especially your essays, your recommendations, those sort of more narrative pieces of your application, and in hopes that we can really get to know you in the process. We do meet full financial need, and that will come in the form of need-based aid. We do have some merit scholarships, but they are pretty limited. For those merit scholarships, you don't need to submit any additional materials or an additional application or anything like that. And I kind of like to wrap up, especially my short presentations, by just saying what I personally think distinguishes Pitzer the most from other small liberal arts colleges around the country, apart from the consortium and the location and all of those great things, is really that Pitzer is the kind of place where there are almost no rules. I often like to joke that anything can be done at Pitzer with faculty approval, and the faculty will approve almost anything. So if you're the kind of student that is hoping to have your education customized to you, that is hoping to kind of push the bounds of what might normally be, the path or the track that someone might go on in college, if you really are someone that likes to say, to heck with all of it, and I want to do what I'm passionate about, and I want to advocate, and I want to, do research on something that nobody's ever done research about, I highly recommend Pitzer for you. And I will go ahead and drop in the chat for everyone just a little bit of information so that you can connect with us later if you would like. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Regis University.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm going to quickly share my screen. Of course, I forget how to use Zoom, but here we go. All right. So Regis University. My name is Dominic Ziolek. I'm one of our assistant directors of undergraduate admissions at Regis. We are a small private Jesuit university located in Denver, Colorado. So what does Jesuit mean? What does Jesuit mean? So we, as Jesuit, we're underneath the Catholic kind of umbrella there. This is our mission statement, which I think kind of describes that Jesuit background pretty well. But really to slim it down, the Jesuits really focus on social justice. And that's really the biggest way you're going to interact with that background. We always say, like, whatever you see on the news at night, you'll probably be talking about in your class the next morning. And we also talk a lot about ethics in your field, whether it's nursing, business, whatever it is, we're going to be talking about the ethics of that field. So kind of interacting with that social justice component is really the biggest way you interact with that Jesuit background. There's 27 Jesuit universities in America. We are really the only one in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. The only one that's close to us is Carleton, located in Nebraska. But a little bit about Regis, kind of a quick overview. We're right around 2,000 undergraduate students, so we're pretty nice small size there. Average class size right around 17 students. We do have some classes that can go up to 70, but that's really just your intro science classes. Not many are that big. So really a big benefit, getting to know your professors, getting to know the faculty members and all of that. And then our campus size, pretty small, really 5-minute walk to any building. You can wake up at 7:55, still make it to that 8 a.m. class. And then just of note in that picture, you'll see that is Denver in the background. We'll talk a little bit more about location in a little bit, just kind of to see how far away that city is, or not how close that city is, I should say. Kind of how our students break down. So this is our last class that we brought in this past fall. 64% are from Colorado, and then a lot of out-of-staters. California is actually our biggest out-of-state, Texas, New Mexico, all of that, a bunch of states. Last year, we had 42 of the 50 states represented in our class. And that was actually one of our lower ones, maybe COVID impacted, but who knows. 33% of our students identify as first generation. And then kind of the important number for you, 80% of our first year students live on campus. This past year, they all lived in the same residence hall, which was brand new renovation, just opened this past year, super nice, kind of brand new, and will only be 1 year old for you if you're a senior or more later on. And then lastly, kind of how we break down, 32% male, 68% female is how we break down. Art disciplines. So this is everything Regis has to offer. I'm not going to touch on all of them because I only have a couple minutes here, but nursing is by far our biggest and best program. We do have a direct entry nursing program. So you get to your junior year, don't have to apply for the nursing program. You are already in. After that, business and computing have recently combined, kind of opening up some more pathways and opportunities for each student. And then third, undecided. We have a ton of undecided students. We get it. You're in high school. You don't know. So we want to give you that opportunity to kind of spend 2 years with that liberal arts education before officially declaring your major. A quick thing about admissions and financial aid, but before we get into that, this is the other side of our campus, or the other, it's like spin 45 degrees here. You'll see the mountains in the background. So our location's pretty unique. We're 10 minutes away from downtown Denver, a rapidly growing mid-sized city, a ton of fun things to do. We have 4 professional sports teams. 2 of those in the Nuggets and Avalanche are actually good. The other 2, not so much. So a lot of cool things to do in Denver. And if you're more of an outdoors person, the mountains are like 30 minutes away. So skiing, snowboarding, hiking, backpacking, camping, whatever it is you want to do outside, we have the access to that. And people always ask, like, what's a typical Regis student like? I think kind of talking about that location is pretty important in that answer. We have a very active student body. Not active as in the gym every day, but just taking advantage of our location, whether it's going to the city or going to the mountains, they really take advantage of that. But applying to Regis, we do accept the common application. It is free to apply to Regis. And then starting this past year, we are test optional, and that is a permanent move for us. So we'll always be test optional. We operate on rolling admissions, so really no deadlines there, except if you're going into nursing, which is a December 1st deadline. And then lastly, we are a private university, so that's sticker price. Pretty shocking to some people, but over 99% of our families receive some kind of financial assistance. First year scholarships are awarded right when you apply. Those go up to $20,000, and our average financial aid award is over $34,000. So we really will work with your families, with our families, to make sure it's an affordable option for you. And lastly, thank you. I'm going to drop my contact info and then also a link to sign up for any virtual visits so you can kind of get to know more about Regis. But thank you.
All right, thank you. If everyone could come back on screen, we have just a few minutes, but we could briefly get through some good advice from our experts. So what advice would you give someone going through the college search process? Same order, starting with Carnegie Mellon.
Sure. So I think first and foremost, give yourself some grace and be true to yourself in this process. I think it's easy to get caught up in trying to find what's the perfect essay, what's the perfect club. In reality, we're all trying to put together communities that bring together students with a lot of different interests, a lot of different passions and talents, and being true to who you are, what that means for you, is what's going to come across the strongest in the application.
Yeah, I'll hop in here next, and I will say, go beyond the stats. I remember reading about a lot of stats when I was a high school student of like, we're number 1 this, or, you know, best this, or this GPA, or this average test score. Like, there's so much more to institutions beyond the rankings that people give us and the rankings that you're getting in your high school. Really, I would say try to learn what makes an institution tick, what makes you tick, and then match those ticks up as you're looking for best fit schools.
My piece of advice is just kind of piggybacking on what was just said, and the fact that putting forward your true self means you have to learn about yourself. You've been so busy up to this point. Sometimes this process is very self-introspective. You need to go back and determine how much you've done and what do you love? And if you don't have all the answers here right now, but beyond the perfect essay, the perfect application, keep in mind, there's no such thing as a perfect college. So when you're looking at yourself, what are those core values that are important to you in your college search? Not your classmates, not your parents, not an older sibling. What about you? And when you're going through and finding those colleges that really excite you, what are those core values? Knowing that no college is perfect, that just, you know, is going to really create and curate that college list, and be happy to be, you know, if you were only admitted into one of those colleges, be happy the fact that you're applying to schools because you would love to go there. And just want to wish you the best in the journey you have ahead.
I mean, they've all said it already. I truly can just say, follow your heart, follow your passions. Don't worry about the brand name.
I'm going to jump off of the don't worry about the brand name and say, and this is the title of a book by Frank Bruni, where you go is not who you'll be. Right? I think it feels like a really big deal to find the right fit and the right college, but it's really about how you'll take advantage of those opportunities. And please know that you have a long, long life ahead of you. You have a long career ahead of you. You maybe have multiple career changes ahead of you. Yes, college is going to be the beginning of that, but there's so much more beyond that, and this is not going to make or break your whole future. So deep breaths, deep breaths.
Yeah, I will piggyback off that answer real quick. I mean, all of these colleges here, every college really offers great opportunities. And college is really kind of what you make of it in terms of kind of taking advantage of those opportunities. So don't go into this process looking like, what is the one college that I'm going to do well at? What is my perfect fit? Like, yeah, look for the ones that you're going to be able to do well in. There are some better fits than others, but don't like freak yourself out looking for that exact fit that may or may not exist.
All right. Wonderful advice from our experts. They are spot on. The last plug I will give is please reach out to these folks because this is what they do. They want to make sure that you do find the right fit. They know all the ins and outs of their institution and they are not going to steer you wrong. So please get their contact information out of that chat. Reach out to them individually. I think that's just one of the things that is going to really give you the right direction. So thank you to our panelists, our experts, and thank you to our attendees for attending this virtual college fair, especially during these difficult times. This has really been a pivot for everyone. So thank you so much. Best of luck out there. And one more time, thank you to our experts. Have a good night.